Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to take a look at a Sableye double steal team. The reason I wanted to play this today is because I've been seeing so many Deoxys and Medicham leads, which Sableye obviously does very well against. This is an APB team, meaning if you don't see the Medicham on the lead, you very often want to use Registeel to try and lure it out so that your Pokemon in the back doesn't have to see it. I've chosen to go with Shadow, Alolan Sandslash for this one. It is a fun and good option. You can also go with Galarian Stunfisk or Bastiodon or even a Dunsparce, which one of my friends has had great success with. The team worked out very well. I went 17-8 with it. Let's take a look at the battles. Going into the first game, we lead into a Quagsire. This is actually kind of an awkward lead. It is a pretty neutral lead for Sableye, but we can't swap out of this. Meaning if they have a Mudboy in the lead and a fighter in the back, we're kind of screwed. But they usually don't, because they would be very weak to something like a Trevenant, although Trevenant is on the rarer side at this point. We go up to the foul play right before they get to the second Mud Bomb. And they no-shield it. In the one shield, you can win this with Sableye if you land a return, but it is very risky to go for, because if they shield it, it's a lot of energy you waste. They try to snipe me with a Noctowl, and I swap into Registeel instead. But against the Noctowl swap in, before you're swapping in Registeel, you usually want to do a little bit of fast move damage so that you can throw one Zap Cannon and then lock on the Noctowl down. As you can see, this Zap Cannon doesn't quite do enough damage for me to lock on them down before taking 3 Shadow Balls. And at this point, if I take out the Noctowl, I'm gonna leave my Registeel with almost no energy and in farm range. So I actually decide to let the Noctowl get to another move. If it's the Shadow Ball, they take me out, I can farm them down with a Alolan Sandslash. If it's the Sky Attack, I can save the energy, swap out into a Alolan Sandslash to farm them down, and then still have a Zap Cannon / Focus Blast loaded on my Registeel. Bring in the Sandslash, they bring in the Quagsire. I could have maybe CMP tied them here. I was a little afraid of the catch. Alolan Sandslash does win CMP, and then they bring in a Pelipper. We go for the Ice Punch. It does take 5-4, 5-4 for the Pelipper to get to its Weather Balls, so we should outpace, but they still have 2 shields. We put up the first shield. I'm thinking the Quagsire is not going to get to another move, so this is the only thing I need to be wary of. And now we go for another Ice Punch right before they get to another Weather Ball. They have to start shielding at this point. And they do start shielding. But I'm realizing they're only going to get to 1 more Weather Ball if I just decide to farm them all the way down. So that's what I'm going for. I'm just not going to throw any more Ice Punches, farm them all the way down, come out with 2 moves, and my opponent realizes that that is game over. Next game, we lead into a Noctowl, save swap Registeel immediately, and they bring out the Medicham. Very nice. This is kind of the point of the team, as I explained in the intro. Now Alolan Sandslash doesn't have to see the Medicham. Go for the Zap Cannon, get the attack drop. Of course, if the Medicham doesn't have a fighting type charge move, we can win this in the zero shield, meaning we will force a shield if they want to keep alignment, which they probably will, so they can get the Noctowl onto Sableye. So we go for another Zap Cannon. This will either take out the Medicham or grab the shield, and now we have shield advantage. Very nice. We've also gotten 2 attack drops, meaning these Ice Punches are going to do even less damage to Sableye. Now we're just going to farm down the Medicham, come out with a bit of energy. And then I don't really want to give the Noctowl any additional energy, so when it comes in, I'm just going to swap out immediately if it's the Noctowl that comes in. And now we have a shield advantage for Alolan Sandslash. Bring in the Alolan Sandslash, they bring in a Swampert. This is a bad matchup, but it's actually not as bad as you might think. We go up to the CMP time with the Ice Punch. In hindsight, I wasn't quite aware of this matchup as well as I should be. I should have undercharged this, because they will get to another Hydro Cannon here. Because I only went for the Ice Punch. Maybe if I'd gone for the Drill Run, they wouldn't have gotten to another Hydro Cannon. We have to shield this. But if I'd undercharged that Ice Punch, I would have been able to farm up even more energy here. Come out with more energy on the Alolan Sandslash. They bring in the Noctowl. I think they're 1 away from the Shadow Ball at this point, so we try and go for the CMP tire on the next one to leave the Noctowl with no energy, so we can bring in the Sableye afterwards, but they don't fall for it, so we go for another Ice Punch. This point, we will be able to knock out with another Ice Punch, and I don't want to let my Alolan Sandslash go, so we try and catch the move on Sableye successfully. It is the Shadow Ball, but it does just about enough damage so that we can't get to a return on Sableye, meaning we have to settle for the foul play, hope it's enough to take out the Noctowl. It's not quite enough. They farm us down, come out with a move. If this is a Sky Attack, we live it. If it's the Shadow Ball, it takes us out. It is the Shadow Ball, and that is a very heartbreaking loss. Next game, lead into a Dewgong. We have 2 better responses in the back, but I'm thinking Dewgongs usually want to shield the first move, and then go for the debuff. So we can go for a foul play before they get to an Icy Wind, grab the shield, most likely, which we do, then let them debuff us. This doesn't do a lot of damage, and then swap out, have a shield advantage. Now we swap into Registeel, they farm up to another move, and then swap in Medicham. If they don't have a fighting type charge move, we are going to grab the second shield if they want to keep switch advantage. So they maybe should have gone for a drill run with the Dewgong on Registeel to make this farm down more manageable for Medicham, because now we're just going to get to another Zap Cannon. I want to bring my Registeel as low as possible to not give something that comes in a big farm. Although in this range, Dewgong might be able to farm me down with Ice Shards. But they bring in a Sableye, it gets 4 Shadow Claws of energy. We bring in our own Sableye, they go for a foul play. I'm thinking they have a move on Dewgong. They might try and snipe me here. If they go for the snipe, even if they don't, I can go for this foul play. If it lands on Sableye, fine. If they try to snipe me with a move on Dewgong, we can CMP tie them with the Sableye. Leave our Sableye with no energy, meaning it's basically worthless to us. And then just take this energy from the Dewgong. Bring in the Alolan Sandslash. And now it takes 5-4, 5-4 for the Dewgong, so we can go up to the drill run right before they get to another move. I don't really want to take a move from this Dewgong because it might be the drill run, it might be the Icy Wind, so I have to shield it. They bring in the Sableye. I realize we're going to be able to get to 2 drill runs before they get to 2 foul plays, so I go for the drill run, don't have to bait. The Ice Punch only does about 39%, so you actually needed the drill run there. It does about 47% to a Sableye. If they had outpaced, I would have to go for a bait and then for the drill run afterwards. But yeah, we outpaced it. Next game, go into a Shadow Swampert. Once again, we can't really swap out of this matchup because both of our back 2 Pokemon are weak to this. So we let the first move go, and they go for another one immediately. I'm thinking Registeel up a shield against Swampert actually has a pretty decent matchup. Alolan Sandslash up a shield against Swampert actually has a pretty good matchup. So I'm just going to let my Sableye go, bring in the Alolan Sandslash. Of course, absolutely praying there's not a Medicham in the back. If there's a Mudboy and a Medicham, that's very tough to deal with. I could have gone for the Ice Punch right before they got to another Hydro Cannon here, or save all the energy on Alolan Sandslash, cast the Hydro Cannon on Registeel. But then they bring in their own Registeel, and we're going to paste to the Focus Blast at the same time, but we lose CMP. This is very unfortunate. Can we lift this Focus Blast? It's kind of close, but we cannot. So we let go of the Registeel. We were going to lose the next CMP anyways, so yeah, I would rather save a shield for my Sandslash. It takes 15 turns for the Registeel to get to a Focus Blast, so you can do 7.5 Shadow Claws, which you saw me do 7 Shadow Claws here before throwing the Drill Run. Go for the Drill Run here, they shield it. This is the Focus Blast, we have to shield it of course. Now this should be 15 turns away, so that's 7.5 Shadow Claws again. So I'm gonna go for 7 more. But then my opponent decides to try and catch on the Swampert. It doesn't have any energy, so we can just farm it down, come out with a move. We go for the Ice Punch. I think this is enough to take out the Registeel from this range. It just about is. And then they have a Sableye in the back. We go up to the back-to-back Drill Run. It takes 6 for the Sableye to get to foul play, so there should still be 1 off, meaning we should be able to get off both of these Drill Runs back-to-back, and that should be enough to take out the Sableye. And that is a very nice sweep by Alolan Sandslash, and a very good game. Next game, lead into a Shadow Charizard. I am really not good at playing against this. For some reason, I should know it better than anyone, I feel, but I feel like I kind of struggle to play against it every time. Obviously it does so much damage. This time, we go for the foul play right before they get to a Blast Burn, and then I decide to call a bait, and it is the bait. It's only the Dragon Claw. Go for the foul play, but it's on a CMP tie. Very nice play by my opponent. They overfarmed by 3 here, so they should be 2 away from the next Dragon Claw, 3 away from the Blast Burn. Bring in a Alolan Sandslash to farm them down. They just about get to a Blast Burn. We have to shield this, of course. Hope there's not a Medicham in the back. And there's not. It's a Shadow Quagsire, which Shadow Alolan Sandslash can actually deal with up energy. We go for the Drill Run. This is more energy efficient. Does big damage to the Quagsire. It takes 5 for the first, 4 for the second one for Quagsire, for the Mud Bombs. So there should be 3 away here. And Alolan Sandslash does win CMP. So we go for the CMP. Meaning now the Quagsire will be energy dry, so it's probably not going to get to a move on our Registeel after taking out the Alolan Sandslash. If they had decided to shield, they bring in a Alolan Sandslash. We go for the Drill Run, probably could have overfarmed by 1 more. And now I want them to throw some energy into my Alolan Sandslash. because this is gonna be very close if Registeel can get to a Focus Blast before the Alolan Sandslash gets to 2 drill runs. It takes 6 for the first 2 and 5 for the third drill run. So can we outpace to a Focus Blast before they get to the third drill run here? 2 will be enough to take out a Registeel, as you can see. Can we get there? Yes, we can. We got there 1 before the Alolan Sandslash got to the third drill run, and that is a good game. Next game, lead into a Ninetales, Shadow Alolan Ninetales. We're just going to insta-swap out of here regardless of whether it has Charm or a Powder Snow, because we have 2 better responses to it regardless. They counter-swap a Quagsire, and this is one of the counter-swaps that Registeel cannot win the Zero Shields against. Registeel is an absolute expert at winning Zero Shields if it just has 1 lock-on advantage. But against Quagsire, the 2 Mud Bombs just does a little bit too much damage to the Registeel, unfortunately. So I do decide to let the Registeel go. Bring in this Sableye, and my opponent, I think this is a bit of a misplay, because it means they only get to 1 move. They go for the Stone Edge. They could have gotten to 2 Mud Bombs, which would have done significantly more damage, and then we get to farm them all the way down. Come out with a lot of energy on Sableye, and although this is a very bad matchup for Sableye, the return does so much damage. So we're either going to do massive damage or grab a shield here. We grab the shield. A shield advantage for Shadow Alolan Sandslash is pretty nice, but I go make a bit of a misplay here, because this drill run is not enough to take out the Shadow Alolan Ninetales, meaning I'm gonna leave my Sandslash almost energy dry as they bring in this Golbat, whereas I could have over-farmed more and made sure I came out with the energy. They bring in the Golbat, go for a Poison Fang immediately after only 5, so I know it's only a Poison Fang, don't want to shield the first one because it drops the defense, but my Alolan Sandslash is getting quite low at this point. We go for the second Ice Punch immediately, hoping it would KO the Golbat so we don't have to get debuffed even more. Also, it's always painful to shield a Poison Fang on a Steel type, but we do have to shield at this point. Also, I'm realizing the Alolan Sandslash is double debuffed now. I think 1 Charm might be enough to KO whilst we're double debuffed, but because we cleared the debuff, 1 Charm was not enough. They also go for a move here, despite the fact that we have a shield. I know they don't have another one, so we can go for the Ice Punch, or we can just realize that we have a 2-turn move, they have a 3-turn move, and farm them down instead. Next game, lead into a Medicham. I saw so many of these in the lead. Of course, I'm not going to show all the games where I just RPS'd my opponent. But this time they save swap a Registeel, which can be a bit problematic. But we put the Registeel into Focus Blast range by landing 1 foul play. And now, because we only did 7 Shadow Claws, we will be able to outpace the Registeel to another Focus Blast before they get to 2 Focus Blasts. So we get to the Focus Blast right before they get to theirs, and they should be enough to take out their Registeel, and it is. And now we keep alignment, which is absolutely huge, because now we can get Sableye onto the Medicham once again. We also get to a Zap Cannon on the Medicham. I want to go for it as late as possible. I'm almost certain they were going to try to farm me down. Even if they threw energy, that would have been fine by me. So by going for the Zap Cannon as late as possible, I potentially debuff their attack as late as possible, meaning they get as little farm as possible. They swap into a Sableye, we swap into Shadow Alolan Sandslash, and Shadow Alolan Sandslash wins the 2 shields against Sableye if it's only down 1 fast move. And we've swapped out fast enough that we should be able to get to these Ice Punches before the Sableye gets to 3 foul plays, because it's 6-6-5 for the Sableye, 5-5-5 for the Sandslash, so we should be able to outpace here. Go for the second Ice Punch, and they do put up the second shield. And then they overfarm, maybe try and throw me off my count a little bit, but I know that I'm going to have to throw this Ice Punch immediately. I just want to take this Sableye out, get to the Ice Punch. This should take out the Sableye. It does about 37%, or was it 39%? 39%. And now the Sableye should be able to deal with their Medicham. Kind of an RPS game, although that Registeel was a little bit tough to deal with. I like the way I did it with throwing the foul play before swapping out to put their Registeel into a range where I only had to go for 1 Focus Blast. I think that's the correct way of playing that, like that scenario specifically. Go for the foul play, take out the Medicham. That was never in doubt. Next game, lead into yet another Medicham, but they swap into a Shadow Charizard. We go for the foul play, and we just don't have a response to this. I have to swap it. I have to keep Sableye alive for the Medicham. So I swap in Shadow Alolan Sandslash. This is a pretty neutral matchup. It's a very bait dependent matchup. I have to call a bait here. I have to call it. I call it, but it's the Blast Burn. and we get taken out by this Charizard. They would have gotten to 2 Dragon Claws and a Blast Burn before I got to 2 Ice Punches. Also, if I swapped in my Alolan Sandslash immediately, they would have gotten to 2 Dragon Claws and a Blast Burn before I got to 3 Ice Punches. I don't think there was anything I could have done here really, other than just make the correct call. This is also just to show you. Some guy in the comments, I think a little jokingly, kind of asked me if I wanted to show some more of my losses, like so we could learn from them. This is one of the ways, like I lose games like this trying to make calls. I don't think this was necessarily a mistake trying to go for... Also, as you can see, I have my Sableye on a Noctowl and my Registeel up against the Medicham because I lost Switch. So this game is basically over. But these are some of the games that I lose that I generally don't show because, well, it just came down to a wrong call, which I don't necessarily think is a bad decision. I made the decision based on statistics, as I always do, based on how most of my opponents have been acting in the past, and most opponents have been going for the bait when I have 2 shields in such a situation. So I chose to call it. It ended up being the wrong call. Next game, lead into a Sableye. This is kind of an awkward lead once again, and we also lose CMP. I thought with my 5 attack on Sableye, I would win quite a lot of CMPs against Sableyes, because most people have a very good Purified Sableye at this point. Go for the foul play, we grab the shield, now we bring in the Registeel. Want to save the Sableye in case there's a Medicham in the back, but they're staying in, meaning they might be weak to Steel in the back. If they're weak to Registeel, they're usually also weak to Alolan Sandslash. They stay in a little bit more, and then they try to catch a Zap Cannon on a Galarian Stunfisk. Very nice attempt by my opponent, but we go for the Focus Blast instead. And it takes 8 for the Stunfisk to get to an Earthquake, so we go up to right before they get to the next one, and then go for another Focus Blast. They should either threaten the last shield or take them out. It takes the last shield. My opponent overfarms to 99 energy, and then goes for what I assume is an Earthquake, and it is an Earthquake. Now I'm going to bring in my Sableye just to take this energy. They do get to a Rock Slide, but as I said, they seem to be a little bit weak to Registeel, so they're probably also weak to Alolan Sandslash. So Alolan Sandslash getting this massive farm down without having to spend a shield and being up 2 shields is probably going to do very well. They bring in a Registeel, and as I say, it takes 7.5 for the Focus Blast, so we should be able to do 7 Shadow Claws before we can throw the second Drill Run here, and we do get to it right before they get to another move, or to a move. We take out the Registeel, and now they only have the Sableye remaining. I just kind of wanted to visualize how much damage an Ice Punch would do in this situation. And, well, it ends up taking them out. You really should be going for the Drill Run usually in neutral scenarios, but I wanted to see the Ice Punch. That was the last battle for today, and overall I think this is a very good team. I went 17-8 with it, as I said, and I think Registeel is just an absolute legend at pulling out Medicham, because it almost always does, and it very often wins the Zero Shields against Medicham unless it has a Fighting type charge move, and the Pokemon in the back doesn't have to see Medicham once Registeel has lured it out. I think you can maybe take it even further by replacing Sandslash with a Galarian Stunfisk. I have done that in the past. Registeel, Galarian Stunfisk with Pelipper or Trevenant on the lead. It always works well for me with those two, but Sandslash is a bit more fun. Other than that, fun fact of the day, Shadow Alolan Sandslash beats Shadow Swampert, which is supposed to be one of its hard counters, in the 2 shields with only 2 Shadow Claws advantage. Just a good thing to be aware of. Other than that, if you like what you see or feel like you learned something, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.